ground, with his hands still slightly holding his sword, despite having no life left in his body. The Kikuchi around Tanjiro look on in sorrow, tears spilling from their eyes, and Giyu can't help but do the same, remembering the bright, kind boy that fought so hard to get his sister's life back to normal. At almost the same time that Giyu drops down, leaning his head against Tanjiro, blaming himself for not protecting this young boy, Nezuko arrives. But this isn't the end. Far from it, shedding tears for the strength of their will, he wants to now do the same for himself. With his dying breath, as his clawed fingers reach out for a fading Tanjiro, he intends to leave his wishes and hopes with him, knowing the young boy's body has not fully died just yet, unlike his own. Muzan roughly grabs Tanjiro by the throat, but not to kill, to sink his fingers deep within his flesh and fill him with his own powers and blood, passing on the abilities to become something stronger. With that and all of Tanjiro's strengths and techniques, he will surpass Muzan himself and become the king of the demons. And that because he not only could overcome the dangers of sunlight, but because he knows sun breathing. With that, we return to the devastating Giyu, kneeling in front of Tanjiro and the Kikuchi standing around them. One of the crying members rubs his eyes and notices something is off. A large chunk of flesh that had been covering Tanjiro's eye is slowly shifting away. Tanjiro's eyes snap open, and the color matches that of Muzan's. He is no longer himself. Before the Kikuchi can, like Giyu, know Tanjiro's arm is regrown in a flash, completely unharmed. Tanjiro attempts to slash at the nearby core members. But even courting death, Giyu quickly gets Kikuchi away with his body. As the next Kikuchi standing behind a wild, snarling Tanjiro is too shocked to move, he screams for them to get back. With the sun having now climbed over the horizon, it shines brighter now than when Muzan died. This demon Tanjiro notices it, but he has nothing to cover his body, save for his arms, which start to catch fire, his skin ablaze, growling like a beast at the pain. The Kikuchi, aiming to attack, survived with just a scratch across their nose and their face. Covering cut-free as always, the quick-reacting Giyu tells them to move away because they are too shocked by what is happening. Wasn't the battle over? Wasn't Muzan killed? Tanjiro, still groaning and screaming in pain because of the sun charring his flesh, is distracted enough that Giyu's shout is for anyone who is able and alive to come face this new threat. From a corner, Yushiro cannot believe what he is hearing. He knows Muzan has died. Likewise, a bandaged Zenitsu, whose hearing allows him to notice a commotion, wonders what's happening since he is too far to see it. The Kikuchi around Sanemi also hear Giyu's cries for support, but the Wind Hashira is unconscious from his injuries and cannot lend a hand. When Giyu finally says Tanjiro has become a demon, the look of horror on the faces of both Zenitsu and Inosuke could stop time. The Water Hashira keeps shouting, announcing that they have no choice but to try and burn him in the sun before he kills them all. As Tanjiro's body continues smoking from the daylight, he decides to flee with a strong push towards a dark shelter, which would stop the pain. But before he can reach it, Giyu tackles him, piercing him in the side with his sword to prevent him from reaching the shaded area. Wild and angry, Tanjiro grips Giyu by the hair with his clawed fingers, new wounds slicing across Giyu's face as he cries. But it's not the pain that hurts him the most, it's the fact that his friend has become this creature that he would have never wanted to be. A fanged and snarling Tanjiro suddenly stops burning as he looks down at Giyu. The singed flesh, no longer hurting him, begins to heal, as he uses that instance of smashing Giyu in the face with a closed fist. Taken by surprise and falling off balance, Giyu can protect himself from the killing slices aiming for his head. In that moment, Inosuke arrives, swinging his sword, screaming, "What are you doing, demonized Tanjiro?" He jumps back at the attack, but Giyu, trying to gather his bearings from the extra blood loss he has suffered, sees Inosuke place himself in front of Giyu, protecting him from any more damage. With Zenitsu shouting Tanjiro's name in the distance as well. At this, Tanjiro drops down like a wild animal, his claws on full display and ready to pounce on whomever he chooses next. His red eyes burn with hunger, while the Slayer mark covers most of his face. Zenitsu continues to call his name, softer each time and more upset at what his friend has turned into. Even though he is still dealing with the shock of the situation, Inosuke refuses to leave Giyu unprotected and spreads his arms when Tanjiro leaps at him like a vicious beast. They swing at each other, Inosuke using both swords to fend off Tanjiro's elongated nails. But he easily gets knocked back. The overwhelming emotions begin to flood in. Inosuke's memories as he pictures all the times they ate together, trained together, and promised to stay on the right path. They had agreed that if one of them did not follow their code, they would have to stop them. They promised. Inosuke knows that was the deal, but even so, he can only see the kindness that Tanjiro has always had for him. The beast, snarling and aggressive, nothing like Tanjiro, is almost at his face, and he cannot raise his swords to defend himself. Tears slip through the boar mask as he watches them end approaching, unable to hurt someone who has always been the best person to him. At the very last moment, Zenitsu and Giyu, looking on in horror, Nezuko arrives, grabbing onto her brother to keep him from injuring his friend. She hugs her big brother tightly, desperate for him to regain his gentleness, his warmth as a person rather than blaming him for this mishap. She is all too understanding and grief-stricken by how many hardships Tanjiro has been forced to face. This demonification is just another in a long line of nightmare situations. She holds him close, tears sliding down her cheeks as she squeezes tighter, not understanding why this happens to people who struggle every day, hoping she can get through to him. She reminds him that the war is almost over and that he can overcome this, just like all the other trials. He just needs to win once more, and they can go home together. They can be at peace. But not seeming to care, Tanjiro unleashes a roar and digs his claws deep within her shoulder, trying to throw her aside. She clutches in too tightly to be removed, though, and Zenitsu jumps in to protect her body that Tanjiro tries to hurt further, holding his forehead back. Zenitsu tries to keep Tanjiro's teeth from piercing Nezuko. Neither that she has been returned to being a human, still clinging to him. Nezuko buries her face in Tanjiro's chest, while Zenitsu fights to keep him away from her, reminding him that she can speak again, that she called him brother. Finally, out of his trance, Inosuke jumps in and whacks Tanjiro's head when he unleashes a vile growl. "Just shut up already," shouts Inosuke, still crying, upset over this horrific turn of events. It was supposed to be easy once Muzan died. It was supposed to be over. He keeps punching Tanjiro, swinging his arms wildly with his emotions getting the better of him. But instead of getting through to Tanjiro, it sends him to a new state of anger as he snarls and destroys the ground near them, with chunks of concrete flying in all directions. Only Nezuko is left to hold him back. Zenitsu, Inosuke, and Giyu have been blown back with the intensity of the attack, and he bites into her. At this first taste of blood, Tanjiro hunkers down like a werewolf, bone-like limbs suddenly exploding from his body, whipping around to keep the slayers away from him. Meanwhile, Nezuko refuses to let go of him, eyes still filled with tears, as Tanjiro pants and attacks his friends with a newfound strength. Giyu rushes in when one of Tanjiro's limbs nearly kills Zenitsu, firing off his water-breathing, striking tight attack, knowing it is too late to recover Tanjiro, neither to use consumed human blood. Giyu considers his options for defeating this impossibly strong demon. Sunlight and red blaze do not work, so what's left to use? As Tanjiro prepares a massive ball of energy with his mouth that would devastate the area and anyone nearby, Nezuko pleads and begs for him not to kill anyone, going as far as to put her hand in front of the attack. Thankfully, Giyu is able to move out of the way, with Zenitsu crying and shouting for the injury that Nezuko gained in the process. Despite wanting to end them all, Tanjiro's body doesn't seem to hold the same hostility for Nezuko, who argues and fights to keep another attack from being launched. Zenitsu pleads with Tanjiro to stop, while Inosuke can only softly utter their names, having lost all his strength. This surprises Giyu, who has been watching closely and notices that Tanjiro is not striking or biting Nezuko, even though he easily could. Using another water-breathing technique, Giyu hopes he can break through to Tanjiro and get his senses back. As hopeless as it seems, Yushiro cannot do anything but watch from afar because his son is out in full capacity, and he would be dead in seconds. He can't believe Muzan is still causing this much trouble after death. Just then, a focused and zombie-like canal slowly makes her way to them, holding her injured tight, tears falling for these siblings and all they're going through. She approaches with the last of the demon antidote, enough to change one of them back to human. With one of her eyes lost to her technique, she contemplates the reason why she was left with one to use, and this must be the destined moment. Although Tanjiro is powerful, he is still a new demon and not able to control his powers well. Kanao uses that to her advantage, striking him with flower-breathing equinoctial vermilion eye. Giyu spots her running at full speed towards his siblings, And before Tanjiro can send her away, she strikes him with the attack. His fierce claws nearly stab her in the darkened eye. All he cuts instead are some strands of her hair. As she leaps and launches herself over him, digging